If you are an empath, you know exactly what it feels like to wake up already carrying a weight that doesn't even belong to you. You can walk into a completely quiet room, sit down, and within 5 minutes feel an overwhelming wave of sadness, anger, or anxiety out of nowhere. The most frustrating part of this experience is that your exhaustion has absolutely nothing to do with physical labor. You haven't lifted a single heavy object, you haven't run a marathon, and you might have spent the entire day resting on the couch, yet your body feels utterly heavy and defeated. This isn't laziness, it is a deep, bone-weary exhaustion that hits you on a mental, emotional, and psychological level. It is the consequence of a mind and spirit that never get a break from processing the emotional currents humming all around you. To understand why this happens, you have to realize that true empathy goes way beyond just having a good heart or showing basic human compassion. Anyone can feel sorry for someone going through a tough time, but an empath doesn't just observe suffering, they actually embody it. This happens because your brain is literally wired differently than the average person. Neuroscientists have discovered that the human brain contains something called mirror neurons, which are specialized cells responsible for understanding and mirroring the actions and feelings of others. In a typical brain, these neurons help you understand someone else's pain without taking it on. But in an empath, these mirror neurons are hyper-responsive and permanently turned up to maximum volume. They function like an unshielded antenna, forcing you to absorb the stress, anger, and heavy trauma of the people around you instantly, effortlessly, and completely against your will. Because of this unique neurological makeup, you spend your entire life operating as a walking sponge for the world's emotional baggage. You automatically absorb the tension from a stressed coworker, the hidden grief of a stranger on the bus, and the chaotic energy of crowded spaces. Your system is constantly working overtime to process and digest emotions that aren't even yours, and it leaves you feeling totally depleted, anxious, and deeply overwhelmed. It is a massive, invisible burden that can make everyday life feel like a battleground for your peace of mind. If you want to stop living in a permanent state of survival mode, you have to break this cycle. You cannot keep letting the chaos of the world dictate your inner peace, and you must learn how to shut off the valve that allows other people's energy to drain your life force. It is time to stop absorbing the noise, put up your guard, and aggressively protect your own mental health. Here are 9 direct, no-nonsense self-care strategies designed to help you filter out the garbage, heal your nervous system, and reclaim your personal energy right now. For a true empath, meditation is absolutely not some trendy, occasional luxury or a relaxing activity you only turn to when you happen to find a spare moment. It is a strict, non-negotiable daily requirement for your survival. While the average person uses a few minutes of mindfulness just to unwind after a long day, your need for it goes much deeper. You need steady, daily meditation to act as an emotional filtration system, literally flushing out the toxic mental clutter, foreign anxieties, and heavy psychic weight you unconsciously sucked up from the people around you. Think of it as taking an internal psychic shower. Just like you wouldn't go days without washing physical dirt off your body, you cannot afford to go days without washing other people's chaotic energy out of your mind. When you sit in silence and ground yourself every single day, you are building an invisible anchor deep within your psyche. This anchor keeps you centered and solid, ensuring that when the inevitable storms of external drama, panic, and negativity swirl around you, your foundation remains completely unshakable. The second crucial step in reclaiming your power is to aggressively throw yourself into your personal hobbies and creative outlets. Because your mind naturally defaults to scanning the room and absorbing outside frequencies, you need to deliberately give your brain a more demanding task. This means finding activities, whether it is playing a musical instrument, working on hands-on crafts, building things, or diving into intense physical exercise that require 100% of your focus, presence, and coordination. You cannot just pick a passive hobby where your mind can wander back to worrying about everyone else. You need immersive, high-engagement activities that force your brain to completely cut off the feed to the external emotional noise of the world. When you are fully locked into a creative or physical flow state, your hyper-responsive mirror neurons finally get a chance to rest. This intentional distraction triggers a massive release of your own natural, authentic, and positive energy, allowing you to finally feel like yourself again, instead of a copy of everyone else's stress. The third vital rule for your survival is that you must completely unplug from mass media, breaking news, and toxic social networks. Modern media algorithms are intentionally designed to thrive on raw shock value, extreme trauma, conflict, and constant sensationalism, because that is what keeps people clicking. While this constant influx of bad news triggers stress in anyone, for an empath, it is a psychological poison. Your hyper-responsive brain is naturally biased to internalize everything it sees, meaning you don't just read about a tragic event or watch a chaotic video, you actually experience it as if it were happening directly to you. Your mind processes that distant pain, absorbs the anxiety, and leaves you carrying a heavy cloud of dread that ruins your day. To stop this constant assault on your peace, you have to deliberately turn off the feed for large, uninterrupted blocks of time every single day. Stepping away from the screen isn't about ignoring reality. It is a critical defensive strategy that gives your overloaded nervous system the quiet space it desperately needs to drop the world's trauma, reset its baseline, and return to a healthy, calm state. The fourth strategy requires you to master the radical, uncomfortable art of doing absolutely nothing to fix a tense situation. As an empath, you naturally carry a constant underlying baseline of anxiety because you feel an internal, almost painful urgency to repair, heal, and smooth over every piece of conflict or discomfort around you. The moment a room gets quiet, an argument starts, or someone near you gets moody, your instinct is to jump in, absorb the blow, and try to make everyone feel better just so you can feel at peace again. You have to break this exhausting habit right now. When a situation around you gets incredibly tense, you must force yourself to take a step back, take a breath, and actively choose to do nothing. Remind yourself that you are not the emotional manager of the universe, and you are not responsible for fixing other people's bad moods or poor communication. Practice the power of backing off and allowing the tension to exist without letting it enter your body, realizing that you can stay perfectly calm and safe even when the people around you choose to stay miserable. The fifth non-negotiable rule for your survival is that you must set brutal, completely uncompromising boundaries with every single person in your life. Because you are a natural listener, people will instinctively use you as an emotional dumping ground, coming to you to vent their endless complaints, toxic relationship drama, and daily frustrations. While you might think you are just being a supportive friend, the reality is that you are allowing them to empty their trash into your mind, leaving you with absolutely zero energy to live your own life. You cannot keep sacrificing your mental health just to keep others comfortable. You need to understand that your time and emotional bandwidth are limited resources, and you have to guard them fiercely. The exact moment you start to feel that familiar, heavy, suffocating sensation during a conversation, which is your internal cue that you are emotionally full, you must learn to execute a polite but swift exit. You don't need to make a scene or be rude. Simply say you have to run to an appointment, make a call, or get back to work. Break the habit of staying trapped out of guilt and realize that saving yourself from an energy vampire is a basic act of self-preservation. The sixth strategy to reclaim your vitality is to regularly get outside and let the natural world handle the heavy lifting of clearing your spirit. There's an immediate, deeply restorative connection between the biology of an empath and the raw elements of nature. When you spend too much time cooped up indoors, surrounded by concrete, technology, and the dense, overlapping emotional fields of crowded spaces, your energy becomes completely scrambled and filled with static. Nature acts as a massive, natural grounding wire for your overloaded system. To reset your energy, you need to intentionally immerse yourself in natural environments where you can step away from the human noise. Walk barefoot on the wet sand at the beach, sit quietly under the shade of massive trees, or simply close your eyes and listen to the rhythmic sound of the wind moving through the leaves. The earth possesses a literal, physical capacity to absorb the chaotic, negative frequencies trapped inside your body and neutralize them effortlessly. Spending dedicated, quiet moments in these settings allows nature to pull the